Hi everyone, Kate here, and this week I'll be trying out a unique hair curling method from the 1930s. This method uses tissue paper to curl the hair in a way somewhat similar to rag curls. And as I had a bunch of tissue paper left over from Christmas, I thought this was the perfect time to test it out. The original directions come from a 1933 issue of Photoplay magazine. They read as follows. Doesn't Mary Carlisle look Victorian with her curl papers? First, she dampens her hair with oil and water, or try a wave set lotion, rolls her hair in squares of tissue paper, and ties the ends close to her head. Next morning, Mary's soft blonde hair is gently curled like this. A baby's hair could be curled this way without harm. There are many lotions that leave your hair soft and lustrous. Now I feel like I should just mention here that Victorian curl papers were not typically used in this way. Most of the Victorian era directions for curling papers, the ones that I've seen anyway, use them like little cases around a pin curl type curl, which was either then left to set or heat pressed with the paper helping to protect the hair from the hot tongs. The method used in this article is actually more in keeping with the way rag curls were put in, which was also a Victorian method, although usually reserved for children. I've never actually seen rag curls ever recommended for adults during this time period in any of the many publications I've read. The only allusion I've read anywhere of adults using rag curls basically called them inferior. They really weren't considered the best curling method, and women of the time often got better results from either proper curlers or curling tongs. Oops, sorry, getting sidetracked with Victorian curling methods, but let's go back to the 1930s and give this tissue paper curling method a try. To start, I'm running a couple drops of oil and a bit of water through my hair as suggested. Next, we will need some plain white tissue paper. Be sure not to use colored paper as the dye can leach out of that stuff and it could stain your hair. This piece has already been torn by, someone, so I don't feel bad repurposing it for this experiment. The article didn't specify at all how large to cut the squares, but I definitely cut my first batch too small. Luckily, my cat loves destroying tissue paper, so I had a number of ruined sheets to play with. You wrap each piece of hair just as you would with a rag curler, around and around until you reach the roots. Then you carefully tie a knot with the tissue paper to hold the curl in place. I found this part to be very fiddly, and you have to be very gentle or the tissue paper can tear, since it's, tissue paper. Even with this larger square, they still don't look quite as full as the ones in the pictures. I'm thinking maybe an 8 to 12 inch square would have been closer. I normally spritz my curl sets with a lot of water, as I find that produces the best results. But as these are only paper, I used a very fine mist so as not to have them turn to mush in my hair. So far, I much prefer my various reusable curlers, but let's see what these curls look like the next day. The tissue paper actually stayed quite well in my hair overnight, and I didn't have any issues with them coming undone or shifting around any more than regular curlers. However, I did find that the results from the set were inconsistent. Some of the curls were a bit misshapen, and the set had that overall frizzy look that I typically associate with rag curls. Actually, I would say the results of these is basically that of rag curls, but without the tangling issues that rag curls can cause. This makes these tissue paper curls perhaps not as good as regular curlers, but nonetheless superior to rag curls and very comfortable to sleep in. Also, while I had initially thought these would be a one-time use disposable item, most of them didn't break or disintegrate as I had expected, and these papers could easily be reused a couple more times. In the original photo, Miss Carlisle has clearly done some additional styling, so I decided to try doing a brush out. Brush outs are really more of a 1940s thing, but you do see some brushing creeping into 1930s styles. And there we have it. These give a much softer curl than curlers, but overall, I was quite impressed with what a little bit of tissue paper can do. This method would be great for somebody wanting a cheap set of curlers to play around with, or for somebody who wants an incredibly comfortable curler to set their hair overnight in. I still personally prefer my other homemade curlers, but this was a fun experiment nonetheless. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye! This video is made possible through the generous support of my Patreon members. Thank you.